Okay, let's get started. As I said, today is going to be a very first session on S4HANA Embedded Analytics course. In this course, in this session, I'm going to discuss about what is the course objective for the next few days, and then what are the technologies we're going to use, and what is the detailed course content of this course, and finally question answers. Excuse me. So the course objective is going to be basically we're going to focus on three different topics here. The first one is going to be serious views development for real-time analytics and Fiori analytical applications, and third one is going to be the embedded BW and BPC models in S4HANA. Of course, we're going to cover the reporting applications in business objects or the SAP Fiori, and also the analytics cloud as well. This course is mainly intended for the people who are doing who are involved in data warehousing and analytics. Could be from BW space or native HANA space, or also S4 HANA space as well. So the people who have experience in BW, doing the data warehousing in BW, may have some knowledge in terms of doing the data warehousing or analytics in S4 HANA. So this is going to be a good fit for them as well. So and it is going to involve some coding, especially when doing the developments in CDS, and also some scripting languages to be used, which is similar to your SQL, native SQL for HANA. Okay, let's get started into more details of the objectives. As I said, the three topics I'm going to talk about here is CDS views development. That's going to be the major part of this course. Is going to be for like 50% of the course is going to be in creating the CDS views which are really used for real-time analytics in S4 HANA system. So if I look at this next slide here, and the model what I've shown here is the CDS embedded model using ABAP CDS, which is also called as virtual data model. So previously we used to have something called HANA Live in ERP. So we used to have calculation views, like the basic views, intermediate views, and also reporting views. So which was built in SAP ERP system, on top of SAP ERP system, inside the HANA system, which is basically going to contain a lot of calculation views, all created virtually to access the tables and provide the data reporting needs. So since we are or actually clients migrating to S4 HANA, there is a need for having a different strategic direction, which is going to be CDS views created in a BAP layer instead of database layer. SAP's decided to choose to have the modeling objects inside the BAP layer. So that's how the CDS is being introduced, and it's not introduced for especially for HANA. It was introduced in general for any of the databases, but later it became mandatory as part of S4 HANA latest releases. You will need to have the ABAP latest innovation packages only run on HANA layer or HANA database. So with all these considerations together, with the latest versions of S4 HANA like 1909 or any of the 1809, if you're really using the ABAP latest innovation packages, you must have the HANA database in as a underlying database. So without this said, again, the point is CDS is not meant to be for HANA. It is meant for any database initially, and going forward, all the new innovations of CDS is coming in, especially for HANA. For example, if you wanted to do the AMDP functions, table functions in CDS, which you cannot do if you have a database which is not SAP HANA. So something like this, some of these things which you really see in the latest innovation packages of ABAP 7.52 and etc. You may have to have HANA database in as an underlying database, which is always going to be the case for S4 HANA system. Okay, so if you look at this VDM, you can see the underlying database tables are going to be, let's consider HANA for a moment, because we're going to discuss more on S4 HANA and not any other databases for all these for all this during the period of course. So let's consider we're going to have a database always HANA database, and since we are working on S4 HANA, I always take the context of S4 HANA for serious views. So not really considering the previous database of Oracle or SQL Server, even though serious supports those things, but I'm not really considering for this course. So let's assume that our database is, not assuming, I'm considering my database is a HANA database, and then I got some of the basic views I'm going to create on top of the database views, and also which contains mostly one-to-one mapping between the tables and the views. And also on top of this one, I'm going to have some composite views, which will have reusable views, which will have a lot of annotations and calculations, exception, aggregations, a lot of other functionalities. I'm going to put it in composite views, and I can have associations between different. We'll come to all these topics in a very detailed sessions in going forward. The objective of this particular slide or particular subject I'm going to talk, we're going to see building a complete VDM. We'll see the standard VDM from the system, which is going to be like a live, where SAP gives all the basic composite and consumption views for any of the business requirements, which is to be used as a standard content. So that's one thing. We don't want to see those content in the initial beginning of those sessions. We'll start with creating those views by our own, like a basic with navigations, with simple annotations and simple coding, without worrying about what is given in the VDM of SAP CDS views as a standard practice, as a standard content. So if you look at this, this little deeper into the model, so we have basic views and composite views, and we got a consumption views. This is these are the three different layers or three different parts of the core data services BAP. So as I said, there is also we have extension views and private views and CDS table functions. So the private views, we don't really go and do any of these. They are really given by SAP, and which usually keep some business critical or some of the logics which are to be kept inside the only the programs should know, not the person who is using the views to be known. So there is a slight misunderstanding of private views, because I used to get confused in the beginning, saying I always say basic view and private views are same, or one and same, and interchangeably use the different names. But that's not true. The private view is completely a different object, which you don't create. It's like a subroutines in your ABAP programming, where you wanted to keep a certain logic inside that subroutine, and don't want to expose that logic to the external consumption views or external people who are using the program. So something like this. Private views are something can be created on top of any of those. You're going to see all these things in detail when we go in building those views in the coming sessions. So we got extension views. You can have extend the custom standard view by adding like 5-10 fields, like appended structures we used to have in ABAP. So you can do the same thing to your CDS views as well. And you got a table functions. So with that, so you probably would have heard about AMDPs, ABAP Managed Database Procedures. That is the a wrapper class and method implementation for having a native SQL script inside the BAP layer. So you're going to have a complete native HANA SQL script inside the program, and then you're just going to wrap this inside in a BAP managed database procedures. Same with table functions as well. You can have a table function which can be wrapped up inside a BAP managed class and method, and then you can use that as an application object. So the only problem with that is you cannot call if you have a table function, you cannot call that as in using reporting program. So for example, if you create a Z program in Eclipse and wanted to call a CDS view, sorry, want to call it AMDP function, you wouldn't be able to do that. It's not possible to do that. So what you can do, you can create a CDS view on top of the table function as a table function, and then that's when the CDS table function can be directly called in any of the above reporting programs, just like select star from the table function. So that's how you make use of the table functions to be called inside the reporting program. So there are every specific object what you see in as part of the VDM has got a definitive requirement to requirement for us to do modeling inside the uh, embedded analytics. So I'll go a little slow and we'll cover the topics what we're going to discuss instead of going into the details of what uh, this session is not meant for explaining what the basic view can do and what composite view can, why should we create all these things. We'll have to talk about in detail when we go into the sessions, because we have got 25 sessions to talk about these views at this, and we'll have to really do them in the system. So got a system here, which I'm going to suggest you also. This is pretty okay. I've got an Eclipse software, or actually Hana Studio. You can use one of them, and you got ABAP development tools installed in here. And inside I also have HANA Perspective here, which is going to be for modeling. So if I wanted to build any of the stored procedures calculation views, I'm going to do this one inside the the database perspective of native HANA. If I want to switch to the ABAP perspective, you can have all the ABAP related objects. You can create a report program, function module, a procedure, class, and method. Every object of ABAP can be created here. So we don't want to do anything inside the GUI. Instead, we do it in ABAP on HANA perspective for the S4 HANA system. So that's one thing. And then we can actually scan through all the system library things to find out the virtual data model for which is going to fit for our requirements. But there are multiple ways to find out what is going to be the right virtual data model for us to use. For example, GL reporting, if I have a report called GL line items to be displayed as an operational report. So how do I go and find what are the standard VDMs available for that? I can, there are procedures. You can do it from Fiori apps library, you can do it from this package. There are multiple ways we can find and then use that as the foundation, or you can customize by creating your own, or you can extend the existing one, the standard ones, and then use it for your needs. It's all flexible based on your requirement, just like how you do the data warehousing and modeling in BW or any of the data warehousing application. You can use the standard content or extend the standard content or build your own content. Three things we're going to spend time and do this. Okay, so you can save the favorite packages. I saved some of the favorite packages here. So some of them you can find here, appl and underscore fin. So there you get some of the standard content. So if you're going to see this one here, I can find something inside my FICO information system. Financial information system, AR, general financial information system for CO. I can open one of them, and actually GL is much better. It's easy for you to get started. And then so you got core data services. There are 154 core data services, and you have access control. We're going to see the access controls. This is for security purpose, and we got a table definitions inside this one. You got all these the CDS creation for data definitions. That's something which is not we have. I can open another one to simply show you how a basic. These are not the interface views or consumption views, what I can see here. So I'm going to open financial accounting. And then, yeah, there are a bunch of actually, I'm just going to look for something which is really can make very simple for you. Financial information system, and then I'm going into the controlling. And then sorry, not this one. Yeah, you can take one of them. Underscore is interface view. It could be a basic view as well as your composite view. So these are going to be. I'm not really going into the details of the serious view. Just going to show you what how does a complex serious view look like. You're going to see a lot of annotations, associations, some field level annotations, view level annotations, some of the view type like basic, and the definition, the type of the view like cube, or is it going to be just a dimension? All these different annotations we're going to look at for the standard medium, as well as I also have my custom medium, which is used for explaining inside my script. So I've got one finance model, I got S-Flight model. There are many basic views to get started. We can use these syntaxes to understand how the model is going to get created, and different annotations, understanding different annotations, etc. We also have uh, other model, which is cost center finance model. And also there is a FIGL model on ACDOC, and etc. So there are multiple models I have. These three are from my three different courses I have got. So in one of the courses I used the finance model. This is the finance model I've created. In one of these training sessions, I've used S-Flight model to create a VDM, and another model I've used master logistics and finance together in the old ERP on Hana models for my serious views creation. So if you look at the CSKT, and some of these tables are from ERP system. The one which is here, this model is on the S4 HANA model. And we got S4 S-Flight has been from a HANA Academy or general uh, practice. So these are the ones we will go and start creating from the basic, from scratch, and see how different annotations work, on how the basic and in composite views work, and then we'll have a consumption view to create it, which is ready for analytics. We can call this as a consumption view as a query as well, because basically that's a query at the end. So I'm going to stop and see some of the questions here. I think there are many questions. So I'll go one by one, if just um, from the beginning. Okay. This what are the prerequisites for this course? The prerequisite for this course, I don't have any specific prerequisites, just as long as if you are having interest or your career plan to go with the S4 HANA Embedded Analytics course. It could be a BW developer, a native HANA developer, or a BAP developer who is just working on S4 HANA system on from UI development as well as transactional processing things. They can also be the people who are right candidates for understanding this VDM and analytics course. And there are people who are BW. They've been doing the data warehousing inside the uh, um, BW system as a strategical data warehousing practice, but as part of real-time analytics practice, you may have to extend your skill set to come into S4 HANA system and then do the modeling inside S4 HANA system and give these models to the reporting tools like business objects or analytical, any of the analytical tools like SAC and etc. So that's another use case, or another group of people who are interested. And of course, native HANA people who are just doing the calculation views and doing the data warehousing inside the HANA as a service on a HANA database. They can also take this course to work in S4 HANA system to do the real-time analytics. So it's basically people who are interested in data warehousing and analytics. Could it be any system? They have their background, SAP HANA, BW, or S4. They can choose to go into the S4 HANA analytics course. I don't. The question is about talk, and there is not going to be interactive session at all. It's definitely not, because I don't think I can have interactions of when as long as you can put the question, because it goes the the reason for not to have interactions is especially may have 5 minutes in the end, but it goes into a completely uh, just suddenly somebody just pops up and then asks question, and whatever I wanted to have I wanted to discuss on the course, and it goes out completely, and then it goes into a different direction. So which is the reason, and to avoid the distraction in the course, I'm not really having any interactions. I can give some time in the end, like 5 minutes for having a 5-10 minutes as a general discussion, but definitely not between the session. You can ask the question, and it's not that you don't want to have a question. You can have a question and just put it in there, which I can every 15 minutes or 10 minutes I can take those questions and able to provide answers to those. So there are going to be 25 sessions. How long this course is going to be? Every day an hour, which will I'm going to talk about this in detail. I'll hold this question for a minute or for a few minutes. Do we need to have native HANA experience to learn this? No. Especially when you're working in S4 HANA Analytics, you don't work in database. So absolutely, the people who are working in S4, they don't do anything mostly. So they don't have to do anything inside HANA. So HANA system is completely block box to S4 HANA developers. Most of the people they call S4 HANA, I don't think it's S4 HANA developer. It's S4 developers. That's what I always represent the S4. Because when you're working in S4, you never touch the database. So that's what I was showing here. So this is ABAP perspective. It's a core ABAP layer, and this is the database layer where you have procedures, schemas, functions, and an ABAP person or S4 person can never really go into these database system and build any serious build any calculation views or any of the procedures, functions, and etc. Because that's not for application development as well as UI development. Anything related, it's going to be ABAP, and on top of ABAP, it's going to be UI. Those two layers are the layers for as for developers, not the HANA layer. So there's no specific skill required for S4 system to be known for. I mean, of course, you may have to write IMDPs and AMDP functions. Just for even those ones, you're going to write it in a ABAP layer, but just need to know how this SQL script is going to work inside HANA, and then you write them inside ABAP layer. So technically speaking, you don't touch the database, but you will use the CDS and also AMDP stuff, which is really greatly aligned with HANA system. So it's not that you have to be a HANA developer, but it's good that you know the concepts of SQL, HANA SQL. How does it work? Then you're at a very good edge to do serious scripting and also do the models in a very highly efficient manner. The next question: SQL and ABAP coding experience is must. So that's what we are going to learn the SQL coding kind of. Serious is basically an open SQL platform. So you're going to write SQL inside this. So ABAP we don't write. It's just like a class and methods. We're going to use them as a wrapper programs, not the SQL, um, not the you know uh, complete implementation of ABAP class and methods. So it's going to be just to use to keep AMDPs like the stored procedures and function. We'll use ABAP class and methods. Other than that, we don't do anything related to ABAP inside the core ABAP. I'm saying the new ABAP. Of course, we're going to do the serious is part of the new ABAP programming model for Fury. Okay, the difference between private and public, yes, they just explained this. Private views, all of them are public views. The ones what you just seen in the video, like basic interface, the basic composite and consumption views are for public. Private views are not for public. You're going to keep them some of the business critical logic inside that, and you don't want to be touched. You don't want to touch those logics by any of the external consumption views. System library fair application library. The library what I've shown you here, this is what your packages, your BAP repositories, your whatever you see in the BAP, that's what you're seeing. The Fiori application library is something else. We come to the second topic in a minute. I'll show you that. Okay. Will the SAC to Serious View integration covered and explain? Will the differences between Serious Views and HANA Serious Views be discussed? The one question is this Analytics Cloud. There is no system you can get it from Analytics Cloud. This is cloud application. So I cannot use a system, the current system, to be connected to unless I go and purchase a fully working license from SAP on Analytics Cloud. I wouldn't be able to do it. Depends if I am able to purchase that license from Analytics Cloud, I can do the integration. Otherwise, it's going to be a test system, which is a trial version, and it doesn't allow you to integrate with other analytics as for HANA system. The differences between ABAP series and HANA series, there is no HANA series actually. The series is for we'll talk about this in a minute when we go in. The HANA series is just for data persistency, not for analytics purpose. You define them for a different purpose. Are you going to give us any real-time scenario for only the models that you wanted to show us? Yeah, this is what so initially we started with the initial, the basic examples to do the VDM or to create the serious objects. And then once we know all these annotations and of course every possible action, and we will be able to go into a report, which is going to be any GL cost center any of the supply chain reports, and then do those all the annotations together within our own knowledge expertise instead of just taking what is given by SAP. We're going to cover in detail related and understanding and extending SAP content series view. Yeah, that's correct, right? So the extender view is going to be for extending the standard content series view. So we're going to talk about that as in detail. AMDP is covered in this session. Yes, that's right. So AMDP is two parts. One is procedure and then there's a function. So we're going to cover more functions, AMDP functions, because the series view is more of a reading object. So the AMDP procedures are read and write as well. So we're not going to deal with any of the writings inside the series view concept. So as part of the embedded analytics part, we always try to focus on reading. So reading is going to be with AMDP functions. So we'll cover that in detail. Can we still do the HANA modeling along with series for reporting? HANA modeling along with series for reporting. It's a good question. So there is a problem with that. I'll explain you a little. So what happens to HANA Live? That is working in ERP on HANA. There used to be a HANA Live used to exist, and when you move to S4 HANA, you got a serious views. It's a conflict. So should I use old HANA Live, or should I, which is basically calculation views, or should I use serious views for reporting? So the answer is you should really think about migrating your serious HANA Live views, all the calculation views to serious views if you're migrating to S4 HANA system. So SAP is not officially supporting calculation views which are part of HANA Live, like previous ERP on HANA Live views. So which means you have no option other than going and recreating all those calculation views to S4 serious views if you are working on S4 real-time analytics use case, because the underlying tables are going to change. You cannot really use old calculation views which are pointing to the old system, the ERP system. You build a SQL script to the series, or you use a BAP? I don't use a BAP. It's just going to be SQL because series uses a SQL script. So mentioning class and methods. No, as I said, class and methods use it for wrapping of C's or a SQL, nothing more than wrapping. Wrapping means just you go and insert the code in between the method and inside the method, just a container, just a placeholder for to run them inside a BAP layer. SAP modules, as I've shown, it's going to be finance and controlling and little bit of supply chain. That's it, these two.